Yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy Tacho here, and we're back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, so this video was long overdue. I've been meaning to get to this one for a while now, but I just haven't had a chance. So we're going to be doing an update to the 3-star and 4-star Summonable Merge Project tier list. And we've definitely got a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about here, in terms of all the new skills and weapons and units we've gotten. So we're going to go ahead and cover all that stuff today. And I'm also using a brand new layout to show this stuff off. So let me know in the comments section if you guys like it. I personally think it's pretty good because it makes the information very easy to actually digest. But of course my opinion is biased because I made the layout, so of course I'm going to think it's good. But anyways, enough about that. Let's actually go ahead and talk about some of the changes. So since the last time I made the tier list, we have 2 new units. So we've got Lena and we've got Ilyana. And we have a whole bunch of new weapons. Not all of them are really going to see all that much play, but I think definitely there's some standout stuff here, like Palm Staff, Flowing Lance, Black Fire Breath, and so on. So we definitely got some new tools for the units to work with. And as far as skills go, we have so many to talk about. Guard Bearing and Spurn, very good for damage reduction. Dive Bomb, of course, the brand new Desperation effect for flyers. We have the Rain skills, which also really good for flying units. Deadeye, which was a big buff to bow units. And we got Crafty Fighter and Slick Fighter as well for the armored units. So a whole bunch of new toys to just deck out the arsenals of some of these units. Definitely some great stuff there. And in terms of refines, we have some new refines as well. So Cecilia, Effie, Setsuna, and Salif all got refines. Salif already had a refine, but it was very focused towards Aether Raids, because that built-in miracle effect made him very stubborn to get rid of. But his new refine that he stole from Sigurd is a little bit more well-rounded, I would say. It helps him out in more aspects than just being hard to get rid of. It gives him a guaranteed follow-up attack if the foe's HP is above half. It's going to reduce damage from the foe's first magic attack. It gives him attack and defense up 5. Like, this refine does so many things. So it's nice to have a weapon on Salif that's going to be good in more modes than just Aether Raids. But that just about covers us for all the new stuff that we've gotten. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tiers and actually talk about some of the changes to the unit placements. So we're going to start things off in the S tier with Cordelia. So I jumped her up from the A tier into the S tier. Dive Bomb 3 is like the perfect skill for Cordelia. And now you can actually get the Desperation effect and still gain the attack and speed up 4 from her main refine. So definitely a plus. Being able to hit the foes 4 times in a row is no joke. And she also gained access to Rain skills as well. So Cordelia is definitely living the life. She also has access to a Resplendent alt if anyone wants to go the extra mile and deck her out even further. But it's not a necessity. This is mainly based as a free-to-play tier list. And Resplendent alts aren't really going to matter unless you want to go for them. It's a nice bonus to have on the units, but it's not like the end-all, be-all. Cordelia definitely would have been in the S tier regardless of having it or not. So there is that. And one other thing I want to talk about in the S tier is Valbar. So I was on the cusp of actually downgrading him into the A tier, but he got so many tools to work with now. He's got the Flowing Lance, he's got Crafty Fighter and Slick Fighter. We just got Armor March as a Sacred Seal, so you can run whatever C-slot skill you want. Valbar definitely got a whole bunch of love since the last time I made the tier list, so he is safe from being demoted into the A tier. And I feel like all these new skills are going to make him more viable, as opposed to just primarily being a score bot for arena mode, like he was before. So that's definitely a good bonus for Valbar. And moving on to the A tier, we have actually quite a few things to talk about here. So the 2 new units, Ilyana and Lena, I decided to drop both of them into the A tier. Ilyana is a very good nuke unit because she's got this crazy high res stat and an equally good attack stat. So if you're running her with an Infantry Pulse setup to quick charge one of those specials, maybe Glacies or Iceberg, Ilyana is really going to pack on the pain. So she's definitely got a lot of viability for a defense team in Aether Raids. And the high res can also be used as a support style thing. So you can run stuff like Sabotage and Ploy skills on her, and she can make for a nice debuffer, if that's what you're looking for. So Ilyana's got some versatility. And the same can be said with Lena. She also has this insane res stat. So Sabotage skills and Ploy skills are on the table for her as options. I guess the most comparable unit to her would be Emerin, who's also in the A tier. Emerin wins on speed, so if you wanted to have a player phase staff unit, I think Emerin is probably going to be your girl. But Lena has a super boon in defense, and combined with that insane res stat, all you got to do is give her Palm Staff and then Close Foil, maybe lull attack and res or lull attack and speed as well. And all of a sudden, Lena is going to be this impenetrable fortress of staff unit. So I think that's pretty cool. We don't really have too many staff units that can pull off the enemy phasing as well as Lena. So I like her for that uniqueness. But maybe I jumped the gun to put her in the A tier right off the bat. So let me know in the comments section down below if you would prefer to have Lena in the B tier or, I don't know, maybe even lower in the C tier. I don't think she's that low, but possibly B tier. I want to hear some more arguments about her first. So definitely have at that in the comments section. We also have 3 units that got demoted from the S tier. So Nino, Lilina, and Mei. Unfortunately for Nino, she's been doing her best ever since day 1, but finally I decided to drop her down. Her refine, it's only even attack wave, so it's not really the craziest refine. The Blade's Home effect is really the main reason why you would be using her. But overall, I feel like Darja just does it a little bit better. Darja is red, which is definitely the better color for a mage to be. All the best tanks in the game are green, like Brave Ike and Brave Edelgard. And Darja's refine is definitely way better than Nino's. Darja's Hex is going to inflict attack and speed -4 on foes in 2 spaces. So you can use that as a support effect for your other units to take advantage of. Or you could just have Darja use it herself to gain a bit of a stat advantage on the foes. So for those reasons, I kept Darja in the S tier while bumping Nino down. And for Lilina and Mei, they're really not all that different from Ilyana. They have high attack and high res, and you want to play them as nuke type units. So I didn't really see any reason to have them in the S tier over Ilyana. So I decided to drop them both down. Mei does have a little bit more utility because if you give her defense and res link, along with her refine, she can actually give +6 to all stats to any of her allies when she uses any movement assist on them. So that's definitely good for Mei to have that. But in terms of combat potential, she's basically not really all that different from Lilina. So I dropped her down. And for the units that got jumped up to the A tier, we have quite a few. So Klein, Niles, and Leon, I guess we'll start with them. These infantry bow units gained a really nice tool in Deadeye. And all 3 of these bow units can make very good use of Deadeye. So in the case of Klein, he's a brave bow unit. So he hits the foes twice in a row. All you gotta do is inherit Deadeye and Times Pulse on him from Shinin, and possibly give him the Heavy Blade Seal as well. And he's gonna hit the foes twice in a row, and that second hit is just gonna be a Deadeye to the face. So Klein's damage potential is really nice now, and the addition of Deadeye I think is enough to bump him into the A tier. And for Niles and Leon, they both have -1 special trigger. So again, you just give them Deadeye and Times Pulse from Shinin, and they can activate that very easily in combat. In fact, Niles also has Flashing Blade on his refine, so you wouldn't even need to give him Times Pulse to ramp into Deadeye. You just have him hit the foes twice in a row, and then he's good to go. And Niles is also gaining +7 true damage from his weapon anyway. So Niles can deal some really serious damage now, and it was enough to jump him up from the C tier straight into the A tier. So that's pretty cool. And Leon's refine, it just gives him attack, speed, and defense +4 and the impact effect. Not too shabby. Impact effects are always useful to have in Aether Raids, and it's not going to be hard at all to ramp him into Deadeye if you wanted. He's also got one of the highest attack stats for an infantry bow unit. At least the free-to-play ones. So Leon's Deadeyes definitely pack a punch. And I guess while we're talking about bow units, we might as well bring up Wrath and Python as well. I decided to bump them up from the B tier into the A tier. And they do have access to Deadeye, which is nice. But what really swayed my opinion on these cavalry bow units is, right now my own personal defense team in Aether Raids is using 2 cavalry bow units, and both of them have budding bow. Ranged cavalry was never intended to have access to sturdy impact, so budding bow is a really cheap way to give it to them. And when you build them the right way, I feel like the bow units are just way better for cav lines than the staff units. Yes, the staff units are colorless, so it's really hard to have color type advantage on them, unless you've got a special weapon effect like maybe Cecilia's Refine. But in all other aspects, including skill inheritance, the bow units are way better off. So I definitely feel like they're way better contenders for a cav line team than the staff options. Yeah, I guess you could argue Wrath and Python are both green, but it doesn't even matter. Like, you give them budding bow and they're going to prevent follow-ups on the foes and gain 4 defense. So even if they're being counter-hit by a red-type unit, odds are they're still going to be able to survive. And then you can queue up Wings of Mercy tactics with your other units to just bombard the foes with a swarm of attacks. So them being colored bows doesn't really hurt them all that much. And they're also versatile too. It's not like they're one-trick ponies with only being accessible on cav line teams. You could give them Spendthrift Bow and Close Foil if you wanted, and then they're going to be really solid tanks as well. So Wrath and Python, I feel like they definitely deserve to jump into the A tier. And the final 2 units that got bumped up are Shanna and Fear. They have essentially the exact same refine with -1 special trigger and +10 true damage. And in Shanna's case, she gained a really good buff in Dive Bomb 3 and the range skills. So Shanna can hit the foes twice in a row, and if she gets them with a special, like maybe Luna or Iceberg or something, she's really going to have some crazy stopping power there. And Fear gains Spurn 3, which is definitely the best damage reduction skill for these infantry type units. It's going to combo very nicely with the +10 true damage she gets. So if you ran a special on her like Soul or Noontime, she's going to be dealing 15 true damage and then healing a ton of HP back. Her res stat is also very good, so give her distant counter and she's going to be a great mage killer for you. So I was definitely sleeping on Fear a little bit, and she deserves to be bumped up. She was one of those units that a bunch of people were commenting on and wanted her to get moved up in the tiers, so I decided to go for it. And real quick, before we move on to the B tier, I just want to talk about a couple of other things in the A tier. So the dragon units, I was so close to moving them down to the B tier, but we literally just got all this dragon support. So Dragon's Ire, a very good skill for them. It can negate the effect of impact skills and also allow them to do a quick repost double attack. So that's very good if you want to bait with these dragon units. And also Blackfire Breath from Diginsia. It's basically lull attack and res 5 built into a weapon. And these dragon units were so starved for a new inheritable breath, like, it's not even funny. And we finally got some, and they're really good. So they dodged a bullet here, and the dragon units are going to stay in the A tier for now. Cecilia also got her refine, but I feel like we're just going to keep her in the A tier anyway. It didn't really change her playstyle all that much. Most people were either running her with a Blade Tome or the Raven Tome anyway. And her refine is just a souped up Raven Tome, so not much has really changed for Cecilia. Salif, we already talked about him a little bit, but his new refine makes him good in modes besides Aether Raids. So it's not like he's in the A tier just because of Aether Raids anymore. He can mix it up a whole lot better now. And Effie also got a refine, but it doesn't really change all that much for her. It's going to let her hit a whole lot harder. But Effie already hit really hard anyway, so not the biggest change. She does also gain Crafty Fighter and Slick Fighter though. So maybe that would have been enough to bump her into the S tier, but I feel like Valbar being able to just score that one bracket higher is enough of a push to give him the edge over Effie. So I decided to just keep her in the A tier for now. And for some of the flying units, like Katria and Est, I was almost going to bump them into the S tier as well, alongside Cordelia, but I feel like it's not quite as efficient to have Dive Bomb on them. Yes, they can quad, and they can attack 4 times in a row if they have it, but for them to get the triangle attack effect off, they need to be very close to other flying units to do it, and Cordelia doesn't need any of that. She just has a Brave Weapon as her refine, so she's pretty much going to hit 4 times in a row no matter what. Whereas Catria and Est actually need some support from other flying units to do it. So for the sake of self-sufficiency, I gave Cordelia the edge over these two. And that about covers us for all the things I wanted to talk about in the A tier. So finally, let's move on to the B tier. This is the final tier where any changes were made. And for units that got bumped up, we have Oscar. So him being in the C tier was honestly just an oversight on my part. I apologize to any Oscar fans out there, but there was a whole bunch of comments on him on the other video that he needed to be bumped up, and I didn't really see any arguments against it, so I decided to put him in the B tier. Athena also got bumped into the B tier. Now, I feel like Fear is a little bit better than Athena, because Fear has that -1 special trigger on her weapon, which is just way better, and it just makes her more versatile with the builds and what specials she can run, while Athena gets a built-in desperation effect instead, and I feel like that's not quite as good, so I kept her in the B tier for now. She still has the Wo Dao effect though, so plus 10 true damage, and she's one of the fastest sword units in the 3-star and 4-star summonable pool, so she makes great use of skills like Spurn 3 as well. So maybe Athena could be in the A tier. I gave the edge to Fear because of the high res and also the -1 special trigger. But let me know in the comments section down below what your thoughts are on that. Merrick was also bumped up to the B tier. He's basically just a free-to-play version of Sonya. Very easy to build, and Dark Excalibur. Super good weapon to have in Aether Raids. The plus 10 true damage and the -2 special cooldown makes it so easy for him to just go to town with those specials and hit the foes hard. So he made the cut to the B tier. And we have Beruka and Tsubaki, who also got bumped up. Both of them are flying units, and they both benefit from range skills and guard bearing. So they're definitely going to be able to tank a whole lot better now. And with guard bearing, they can even tank magic attacks now, so that's nice. Beruka's only real weakness before this was her low res. So you give her guard bearing, and assuming she's only going to have to tank 1 magic attack on the enemy phase, she's going to do just fine. And the same goes for Tsubaki. So the flying tank units definitely got a lot better. And the final unit that got bumped up is Setsuna from the D tier. I mean, at this rate, Reese is going to be in the D tier all by himself. Or who knows, maybe the next refine batch, we're going to start getting staff refines, and Reese is going to be one of them. We are so overdue to get some refines for the staff units. I hope they finally get on that and start doing them. And imagine Reese getting a good refine. That would be something else. He'd go from a meme to an actual legit threat, and I think that would be awesome. But regardless, Setsuna is in the B tier now because of her refine and access to stuff like Deadeye. So Setsuna can't really ramp into Deadeye as easily as some of the other archers. She doesn't have a Brave Attack effect or -1 special trigger like Niles and Klein and Leon. So I kept her in the B tier. But her refine turns her into a crazy stat ball now. She's gaining +4 to all stats against any ranged opponents. And she can also gain attack and speed up 5 and neutralize any penalties to attack and speed on herself. So her attack and speed is going to be very consistent now. But besides her refine and Deadeye, I would still give the push to the other infantry archers over her. And that's going to wrap us up for the changes to the tier list. If you guys see anything you disagree with, then definitely feel free to leave some comments in the comments section. The way I've been updating this tier list is by listening to viewer input and taking what you guys say into account. I know I've said this before, but I'm only one person, so my opinion should not be the only one that matters, especially not when making a tier list like this. I like having input from the entire community, and it just makes things more accurate in the long run. So please leave some comments and let me know your thoughts. And of course, thanks so much for watching the video and listening to me talk for like 20+ minutes. But I appreciate the support, And as always, this is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, everybody, and I will catch you guys again on the flip side.